Help me, Mika. My ass is so big and can fit through the gap.
Hello, welcome to my channel, I'm glad to see you. Whenever you think of Disney, you think of Mickey. They are synonymous with each other, and the amount of Mickey games is off the charts. Castle of Illusions, for example, is considered one of the best Genesis games, and for a good reason. But I never considered myself a Mickey fan. I always thought he was a bit bland as a character, which he is for the sake of mass appeal. I've always liked Goofy and Donald more, and when I upgraded my Dreamcast recently, video on that coming soon, I decided to play through Donald Duck Goin Quackers, Quack Attack in America, because I remember really liking this game on the PS1 back in the day, and wanted to see how it fares on the Dreamcast, which is significantly more powerful. That made me want to go back and explore some other Donald Duck games from mine and Mika's childhood. But before we do that, subscribe to the channel, we're almost at 5k, help me get there. And let's start with the game that made me want to do this video in the first place, Goin Quackers. And the premise couldn't be simpler. Daisy has been kidnapped by the evil wizard Mallard.
You'll never get out of here.
So now you got a Crash Bandicoot all over the place to collect enough energy to teleport you directly to Murloc's temple and save her. And seriously, the Crash comparison is undeniable. You got your linear 3D levels, including time trials. You got your side-scroller 2D levels. You even have your chasing levels in which you have to run away from something. Beat all the levels in the area, fight the boss, advance to the next levels, all very familiar. And good, let there be more Crash Bandicoot clones, the world needs more of them. I love them, can't get enough. And considering this game has ports for the N64 and the Dreamcast like I mentioned before, both systems that never got Crash games, it's a great little introduction of the formula for those players. But not everyone played classic Crash, although they should. So let me explain how it works. You got your hub world, in which you can go to different levels, so to speak. In there you have 4 stages to complete in any order you wish. Completing these levels and grabbing this yellow piece in each one will unlock the boss stage. Beat the boss and you unlock the next world, in which you will repeat the process until you beat the game. But there's some interesting things to spice up the gameplay. In every scenario there's these enchanted flying books. Hitting them makes a toy in the stage take shape, usually near the book. If you're fast enough to get that toy, and if you repeat this process 3 times in each stage, you unlock an extra stage. In this extra stage you have to run away from something related to the world. A bear in the forest, for example, which is a novelty idea never made before. And if you beat those extra stages, you unlock the time trial mode, in which you can complete the stages again, but this time you gotta do them fast, instead of doing them right, just like the radical left likes with the speedrunning.
Shadow, what the fuck are you talking about?
But what is the point of doing all that just so you could redo the levels again, you ask? It's so you can unlock the sick little skin changes. I love all of them, but especially this one. He looks just like his sprite on Quackshot, another game we'll talk about soon. But anyway, the skins are great and yada yada, but how is the gameplay? It's baby's first Crash Bandicoot essentially, not very challenging at all. You get a double jump and a push button. You can kill most enemies with any of these two, save for a few enemies. You can get hit once before dying, and if that happens, Donald gets pissed off. His animations change, even the idle ones. It's very charming and in line with his character. If you grab the milkshake, you become invincible for a few seconds and recover your health to Happy Donald. If you grab 100 stars, you get an extra life. Not that you need them, since the game is kinda easy overall. If you're a Crash veteran like me, you end the game with plenty of extra lives without even trying. But that's not a bad thing. The low difficulty makes this a very chill game to enjoy. You can easily 100% it in under 4 hours, so it's a great game to pick up in an afternoon to decompress. During the game you visit the forest, the city, a haunted mansion, and an ancient tomb. All levels look great, they all have their own charm to them. Like for example the city level. Each stage is a bit different from the next. You go from the streets to the rooftops, and each level is set in a different time of day. It's all very interesting to look at. And my favorite world is the haunted mansion one. It has all kinds of spooky monsters in it. Like for example, spiky balls, Frankenstein. It's actually Frankenstein monster? Yes, I know. Convicted ghosts, the elderly, Invisible Man. Wait, if we can see his hat and cape, does it mean that he's naked? Now that is actually scary. And I love how you can beat these huge beasts literally by punching him a couple of times. Goes to show that Donald is actually a sailor, he's not screwing around. The bosses are all the usual Donald antagonists.
Hey, Donald! Prepare to get mashed into duck soup!
And some of those fights are actually hard to beat. Some for the wrong reason, like this one in which you have to punch those pumpkins off the stage first. I hate their hitboxes. Anyways, you get the gist of it. It's a great game. A bit too easy for the regular Dark Souls enjoyers, but sometimes that's a good thing. Highly recommend you check it out. This game has 3 different versions essentially. 5 if you count the handheld ones. The PS1 version is one, the N64 and Dreamcast has a slightly different version, and the PS2 and GameCube has a completely different version. I can attest to the quality of the first 3. Never played the PS2 and GameCube ones, so I don't know if they're any good. But let's switch gears and travel back to the 16-bit era. And Mika is here to talk to us about her experience with Quackshot for the Mega Drive.
Quackshot was one of my favorites back in the day. Released in 91, Donald is the star of this game that tries to be like a semi-Metroidvania with a lot of backtracking. The story is simple. Donald finds a treasure map on Scrooge's library and decides to get his nephews in a plane to fly around the world searching for it. The cool thing about the plane concept is that the game has linear stages, but the cities are available in a map hub, and you can travel freely between them. You can even choose the order of the stages, but then you realize that all the levels are interconnected by items that you need to find and then discover where to use them. Sometimes it's obvious, like a flame scepter to melt an ice block, but other times you get a gem and have no idea where to fit it. You will need to investigate, and sometimes revisit cities that are full of enemies. And to clear these areas, you have a gun that shoots paralyzing plungers. Well, not only that, you can shoot corns
I really like cones.
and bubbles too. It's a kid game and it's not afraid to show it. But the plunger will evolve during the gameplay, and you can also use it to climb walls and attach on birds to use as transportation. And you need to manage your ammo a lot during the later stages, as the items will react differently depending on the ammunition you are using. For example, in Transylvania you can use the plunger to climb the barrels, but only the bubble gun will destroy them if you need to pass through. I can say exactly that Quackshot is a hard game, but it was impossible to beat for me as a kid. There is a lot of thinking to be done, and it wasn't exactly easy for my 90 years old brain. Well, not that it's any easier now, but I digress. For example, Goofy gives us a scroll with a strange message that is useless at the moment. Then, 2 or 3 levels later, we arrive to a room with symbols on the floor and a wall coming down on you. Oh my god, I failed so many times trying to understand exactly what it was. And when you die, you restart the whole level. But after a lot of frustration, I check the scroll again and I have that eureka moment. It took me some extra lives to understand that I need to jump on the symbols, a mechanic that is only used once in this puzzle. But it was so cool when the wall just stopped in the nick of time.
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right! The game has a lot of exciting moments like that, like fire chasing you from corridors and traps coming from the ground. It really gives you the sensation that you are exploring old tombs searching for treasure. The stages in general are very unique. You can really feel that you are in a cursed vampire mansion or in the South Pole. The music also elevates the mood. Most of the stages are a basic side-scroller that you need to shoot your way to the end. But there are some extra segments like zip lines, minecarts or flying. Quackshot also has bosses in some of the levels that aren't super hard but are fun to beat. Although the game is short, there is a lot of tricky mechanics to make it longer, such as harder platform jumps, unforgiving enemies, and cryptic information. Numbered random doors, I'm looking directly at you. I highly recommend this one if you like a mix of action, side-scroller with some light puzzle elements. But since Quackshot doesn't have a password or save system, it can be frustrating on the first try.
And now let's talk about Maui, Mallard in Cold Shadow. But wait, who the hell is Maui Mallard? I thought we were talking about Donald Duck games. This game always confuses me, because it's clear that it's Donald, although the box art doesn't make it clear. But that's only in the SNES version. As you can see on the Mega Drive version, it's a Donald game. And the reason they omit that information on the original release of the game is because apparently the marketing thought that Donald wasn't hip enough in the States. Which might be the case, I have no way of knowing. Back in Brazil he was pretty popular. And I heard that in the Nordic countries like Finland and Sweden he's super popular. Is Donald popular where you live? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, back to the game. Apparently Maui Mallard is a character played by Donald Duck that resembles Magnum P.I. And that character turns into Cold Shadow in this game, which is a ninja. So, We have a fictional character cosplaying as a fictional character, turning into a different character. Got it, not confusing at all. And the core mechanic of this game is this character transformation. You see, both Maui and Cold Shadow have different abilities. As Maui, Donald can shoot his insect gun, with normal and special bullets. He can also climb ropes and vines, and lastly he can swing upwards with the help of a few hooks in the stages, like this. As Cold Shadow, Donald fights with his stick in melee, which is easier said than done, the hitbox is a bit weird. I found that fighting while crouching was the best method of dispatching enemies. He can also swing from these notches on the levels, allowing us to reach higher places. And lastly, he can hang from the walls if they are perfectly spaced like this. The first stage we only play with Maui to get the hang of what he can do. And in the second stage is Cold Shadow time, we need his skills to advance. From the third stage onwards is where the game becomes really good in my opinion, because you have to switch between the two forms to advance the stages depending on what skill is needed at the moment. And advancing these stages become a bit of a challenge at points, because they aren't linear as most 2D games at the time were. They are almost maze-like at times, with plenty of treasure hidden throughout. I usually prefer more linear levels, but I admit I had fun exploring the levels here, especially because they are so well crafted and fun to look at. Who doesn't love exploring an Aztec / Inca / Mayan temple as a ninja duck? That might be the first time that phrase was ever said, now that I think about it. Some stages also switch things up, like this one in which I have to kill all enemies while bungee jumping. Took me way too long to realize what I had to do here. Not my proudest brain dead moments. This game is full of charm. The animations are super fluid and Donald's personality shines through them. I especially like the stage transitions, in which we get a glimpse of the story every now and then. And when you get the hang of the mechanics, it's actually a blast cruising through the stages and finding secrets. And although it can be a bit challenging at times, like for example this lava stage, I never felt like the game was unfair. Matter of fact, it gives you plenty of healthy refills, which are those juices jars and cups. The only thing I'm not a big fan is the fact that to obtain the passwords, you have to complete the bonus stage. Otherwise, no password for you. Thank God for save states, this is kinda bullshit. And that's Maui Mallard in Cold Shadow, or Donald in Maui Mallard, depending on which version you're playing. A very charming and fun game that I highly recommend if you want to try a 2D side-scroller with some twists. And lastly but not least, World of Illusion, starring Mika and Donald. And no, this is not Castle of Illusion, that game is a Mickey solo adventure. This game is a pseudo sequel to the Mega Drive classic. And I say pseudo because, apart from the stages and the fact that Mickey is in it, it doesn't have much to do with that game. The story begins with Donald and Mickey being magicians. While exploring their set, Donald finds out some kind of portal to another dimension. He falls through and ends up essentially in Castle of Illusion world, if we take into consideration the level themes. Mickey follows through and so begins our journey to find out an exit to this place. Starting from the gameplay, this game is a bit slower than the other games shown in this video. The characters in animation aren't as snappy despite being very pretty. And I think that's deliberate, because the focus of this game is the co-op gameplay. Something that wasn't common back in the day, and the proof of that is this section right here. We were stuck for at least 5 minutes trying to figure out what we had to do so both of us could climb this tree trunk. Turns out the player on top has to go to the board of the trunk and hold the run button to drop down a rope. No wonder I dropped this game when I was a kid playing with a friend. How is the player supposed to know that? The manual? I rented game as a kid, they didn't come with a manual. Anyway, small crash out apart, I like this aspect of the game, it's very unique. And it's not exclusive to this rope mechanic, most of the game expects the player to cooperate. Like this seesaw level, which was very fun. Or this part, Donald cannot fit through the gap because his ass is too big, so Mickey has to help.
Help me, Mika, my ass is so big I can fit through the gap.
I don't know how this game plays as a single player experience, but if you have a friend or a significant other, this game is quite fun. And graphically speaking, it's a very significant glow up from Castle of Illusion. The sprites are bigger with more frames of animation, the scenery is super colorful, filled to the brim with details. But despite liking how the levels look, I definitely don't want to revisit all of them. At least not like the game expects us to. We were having a good time until we reached this part. Apparently the game expects us to replay many sections we already completed just because. And and that turned me off a bit from the game. I'll come back to it at some point, but you get the gist of it. It's a fun game, especially if you have a co-op partner to go through it. If you enjoyed Castle of Illusion on the Genesis/Mega Drive, give this one a go. And that's pretty much it for this video. There's some other Donald games we haven't played yet that look great, like for example PK for the GameCube. So if you guys want to see us play some other games and give us our opinion on them, let us know in the comments. And if you like this video, give it a like, and subscribe to our channel. Our next goal is 5K, help us get there. But that's it for now, bye bye.